My husband had a sudden business trip, and our family vacation inevitably got canceled. Since my daughter was extremely upset, I hastily decided to take her to the amusement park. After having a great day, we lined up for the Ferris wheel to finish off. My daughter suddenly said, "Look, it's Dad!" I was shocked to see him. My daughter was pointing at my husband, who was with an unknown woman. They were holding hands and having an intimate conversation. Blinded by rage, I approached them and said, "Looks like a fun business trip you're on." And when he turned around, "My name is Ellen Smith. I'm a 34-year-old stay-at-home mom. Well, I'm turning 35 next month, entering what they call the over-the-hill stage. I wonder when I will stop being excited about birthdays. I just don't want to get any older in this repetitive everyday life. I felt that way lately. My husband, Hans, is the same age as me, turning 35 this year. We met at a food manufacturing company 7 years ago and got married 5 years back. Our daughter, Lily, who was in my womb at the time, is now 5 years old. Time seems to fly since she was born, perhaps due to my routine of household chores and childcare. I actually wanted to continue working, but I resigned when I got married and never returned to the workplace. The job involved a lot of traveling, and I thought it would be impossible to manage with a baby. Hans seemed to share this thought and suggested I quit, but I think he wanted me to support his career more than help with childcare. After all, he's never involved himself in household or childcare tasks. He didn't help me when I suffered from morning sickness during pregnancy, never fed Lily or changed her diapers either. He hasn't picked Lily up from kindergarten even once. Given the situation, resigning was the right choice. So I spent my days handling household chores and childcare alone. One day, after putting Lily to bed as usual, my husband came home from working overtime. "Welcome home. I'll reheat dinner," I said, but he replied coldly without a welcome.
"What's for dinner?"
"Pan-fried fish and a poke bowl." On hearing my response, he frowned.
"Fish? Not in the mood. Anything else?"
"Well, I have some leftover burgers from yesterday in the freezer."
"No. Can't have burgers 2 days in a row."
"Then what will you have?" I asked, getting irritated, and he responded in a sour tone.
"Never mind. I'll have instant noodles."
"What? Instant noodles? If you're going to eat that, you might as well eat what I cooked." Then he raised his voice.
"I'm tired. Stop nagging."
"Who's the one nagging?" I shouted, and at that moment the living room door opened. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." "Oh, Lily, I'm sorry. Did we wake you up?" Our voices must have reached her through the wall separating the living room and the bedroom in our cramped apartment. I apologized to Lily and went to prepare some water for her. When I returned to the living room, a cup of instant noodles with the leftover soup and plastic fork were on the table, but my husband was gone. Seems he went to the bathroom. I sighed and threw them into the trash. This isn't a restaurant where you can get what you want instantly. No, even in a restaurant, if you order Indian curry in a Mexican restaurant, it probably won't be served. I wonder, is every husband like this? And how do all the housewives out there decide what to make for dinner? I wish someone could tell me. I thought this as I wiped down the table. Nevertheless, I understand well that my husband's job is tough, being experienced myself. When I was still working, I used to get irritable from being too busy too. If someone like me, who's been there, doesn't understand him, who else can empathize with his struggles? No one. Eventually, I concluded that and decided to be mindful not to argue over such small things. To refresh from work, I planned a vacation. "Can you get time off for a vacation?"
"Yeah, as of now."
"Great! How about we go on a trip to blow off some steam?"
"A trip? Sounds good."
My husband was open to the idea of going on a trip, and my daughter, on hearing this news, was more overjoyed than I imagined. "Yay! Where are we going?" Since I mentioned the word vacation, it became the topic of conversation. To make the trip enjoyable for my daughter and husband, I busily prepared booking hotels and researching tourist spots. Since the preparations were last minute, it was tough finding available hotels, but I managed to find one. 2 days before departure, I showed the hotel on my smartphone to my daughter and my husband and said, "I've booked this hotel." "Wow, the room is so big." Since it was last minute, only the suite was available.
"Well, it's a treat once in a while, isn't it?"
"Dad, I'm so excited."
"Yeah, me too."
My husband replied to us somewhat lethargically. It would be terrible if he fell ill before the trip. Thinking so, I said, "It's getting late. Let's go to bed," and took my daughter to the bedroom. We were looking forward to our family trip, but I am not so sure if my husband shared our feelings. I realized this on the eve of departure. The day before our departure, he said,
"I can't go on the trip. I have a sudden 3-day business trip, and I've got to leave tomorrow. Sorry."
"What do you mean? A business trip during our vacation?"
There was a delivery mistake in the product, and I have to deal with it urgently.
"Can't someone else handle it?"
It's my responsibility.
"Is this more important than our family trip?"
It's my job. I have no choice.
"Didn't you promise Lily yesterday? She was looking forward to it so much."
Stop nagging. Some things are just impossible.
He left those words and disappeared into the bedroom. I was very disappointed. More than anything, I didn't know what to say to our daughter, who was sleeping soundly, looking forward to tomorrow. Thinking of my daughter's feelings made my heart tighten. The next day, after my husband left, I explained the situation to my daughter, who woke up. "I'm sorry, honey. Daddy has to work. We can't go on the trip." "Really?" After seeing her, she looked down for a while with teary eyes. She must have been very sad. Eventually, she started crying loudly. "I'm sorry. Instead, let's go out somewhere, just the two of us." I consoled her and suggested this to change her mood. Then my daughter, with her face messed up with tears and a runny nose, earnestly answered, "Amusement park. Let's go to the amusement park." "Amusement park, huh? That's a good idea." There is an amusement park quite close to our house where both children and adults can enjoy. That would create good memories for my daughter and hopefully make her forget. I agreed and quickly got ready to go to the amusement park. "This is so fun." My daughter had completely cheered up and was enjoying herself. As the sun began to set, she had become utterly exhausted. "I'm tired." "Yeah, let's start heading back." "Then I want to go on that last." "The Ferris wheel? That sounds nice. Let's go." So I took my daughter's hand and we joined the line. The Ferris wheel was beautifully lit up against the twilight sky. How beautiful! While I was captivated by the view, my daughter tugged my hand. "What's the matter?" "Look, it's Dad." I looked in the direction my daughter was pointing and saw a couple holding hands a few meters ahead of us in line. "You must be mistaken," I tried to say, attempting to look back at the Ferris wheel. But at that moment, the queue moved and we ended up facing the couple directly. I was flabbergasted by the face that revealed itself. It was unmistakably my husband. "It is Dad." My daughter raised her voice, but my husband didn't seem to notice us. Instead, he was close, conversing with the woman he was with. Was the business trip a lie? Did he plan to enjoy a vacation with this woman for 3 days? Does that mean he chose a trip with this woman over his own family? Maybe. Everything was settled in 2 days before the trip. Maybe on that day, he was not feeling unwell, but just replying absently, having no intention to go on a trip with us. I tried hard to sort out the situation I found myself in. While I was thinking, the line moved remorselessly, and by either good or bad luck, we ended up right beside them. My husband was talking joyfully to the woman, his back towards us. Unable to restrain myself, I spoke to his back. "Enjoying your business trip?" Responding to my voice, he turned around, his eyes and mouth wide open in shock. "Dad!" My daughter called him, and the woman next to him, seeming to understand the situation, let go of his hand. Finally, he managed to speak.
It's not what it looks like. This is, checking the Ferris wheel."
Caught in the act, this was the first thing that came out of his mouth. "Why would a sales department be checking, especially in a food company, and you're even properly standing in line?" The absurdity made me laugh. "Lily, let's go." I didn't care about him anymore and tried to leave, but my daughter asked, "Aren't we playing with Dad?" "It seems Dad cares more about that woman than us." When I replied, my daughter scowled.
"I never said that."
My husband tried to intervene, but it was too late.
"Dad's the worst. He never plays with me. I hate him,"
my daughter said and ran away.
"Ah, wait!"
He seemed to react to those words from my daughter, but I just stood there bewildered, ignoring my husband and the sweating woman beside him. I ran after my daughter. She was red-faced, angry, and crying. "I'm so sorry we couldn't go on the Ferris wheel. Instead, shall we buy popcorn from over there and go home?" I suggested this to console her, and my daughter said,
I hate Dad. I don't want the Ferris wheel, popcorn, or Dad.
"Is that so?"
Yes, because Mom, you were sad because of Dad. If Mom's sad, Lily's sad too.
"Lily." The moment I heard my daughter's words, I decided to divorce my husband. I couldn't forgive him for making our young daughter say such things. On the way back, I stopped by my parents' nearby home and left my daughter with them after explaining the situation. Then, I returned home alone and searched through my husband's room, and from his computer, I found records of messages between him and his mistress. The conversation revealed that their affair was long and intimate. As I mindlessly read the messages, any feelings I had for my husband were completely gone. Meanwhile, his calls and messages were insistently ringing, but I blocked all his contacts. While I was packing my stuff, whether out of remorse or realization that his lies were exposed, my husband returned home that day. It was late, almost like he spent the evening contemplating excuses with his mistress over dinner. I couldn't tell whether he was remorseful.
About earlier.
My husband started to speak the moment he noticed me, but I didn't want to hear any excuses, and interrupted him by reading aloud his fervent exchanges with his mistress while staring at the computer screen.
Looking forward to the trip tomorrow.
I value the trip with you more than my family. Stop it!
My husband hastily snatched the computer from me, yelling.
What are you snooping around for? It's creepy.
This caused me to lose my temper.
Excuse me? Sticking around with a young woman is creepy. What did you come back for? To blame me? When you're clearly at fault. Maybe you returned late because you were busy concocting excuses with your mistress. Do you have any intention to apologize?
When I confronted him, he lowered his shoulders and said,
I'm sorry.
I don't need your apologies now. I want a divorce.
No, anything but that. I'll apologize. I'll do anything.
Do anything? Do you think you can fix this by doing something? Ridiculous.
I left the house with my bags after saying this. Later, I formally divorced him. I demanded $35,000 in damages from my ex-husband and his mistress, and also claimed child support until my daughter became an adult. It seemed that the mistress was a junior at my ex-husband's company. She broke up with him furiously when I demanded compensation and even went to his boss to get him demoted before resigning. Because of this, the company discovered the affair, and he was demoted and his salary was cut. My ex-husband, who can't even iron his shirts, let himself go, began oversleeping, and became habitually late, becoming a burden to his reputable company. I snorted when I heard this from my in-laws, thinking he should be thankful he wasn't fired. My in-laws were also disgusted by my ex-husband's actions and have declared they won't help him, leaving him estranged. I, on the other hand, took refuge at my parents' with my daughter and started a full-time job. My supportive parents and my resilient daughter, growing up even with less time with me, filled me with gratitude.
Mom, welcome back.
One day when I came home from work, my daughter greeted me joyfully.
I'm back, Lily.
While seeing this and looking after her closely, she seemed to be fidgeting with something on her back.
Mom, what is it, Lily? What happened? Happy birthday. It's a present from me. Oh my.
I had completely forgotten that today was my birthday, being so engrossed in work, and her little hand was a rolled up piece of paper. Opening it, I was overwhelmed with tears.
It's a portrait of you, Mom. Isn't it cute?
Lily, thank you, I said while embracing her small frame. Getting older isn't so bad. Rather, as I age, its significance seems to deepen. I feel this way, undoubtedly thanks to my daughter in my arms. I hugged my daughter once more, smiling warmly.